Islam. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. First off, I'd like to rise, walking in Jerusalem, just like John, giving praise to Allah, the author, the creator, the governor of the world, almighty, eternal, and incomprehensible, the one who stretches forth the heaven with his hands, who have described with his fingers the courses of the stars, who set its bounds to the ocean that it cannot pass, and said to the stormy winds, be still. I'd like to give on to the lily of the valley, the bright and morning star, talking about none other than our holy and illustrious prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I'd like to give on to Prophet Noble Drew Ali because it was he who founded the Moorish Science Temple of America in 1913 AD. As he founded the Moorish Science Temple of America, in doing so, he was teaching us to be ourselves, telling us about our forefathers' divine and national principles that we was learning to love instead of hate, and that we were not Negro, colored, and black because these were slave names. When you call yourself black, even today, you're calling yourself a slave. You are saying that you are slave to sin. When you look in the government, anywhere, and you see a particular people, they have a nationality. They have a divine creed. They are who their forefathers were. Because Noble Drew Ali said, man today is what his forefathers were yesterday. And there is no one who is able to change man from the decent nature of his mother and father unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator, Allah himself. We're thinking about Noble Drew Ali now. When first he was in Newark, New Jersey, and then he moved to Chicago. He moved to Chicago a few years later, and he stayed there to a greater follower. And Noble Drew Ali, when he first established the Moorish Science Temple of America, he had 15 temples. He had 15 temples all across the country. And I was honored because the brother that I was a part of, he was a member of one of those 15 temples. And he is still teaching some things that Noble Drew Ali taught us when he established the Moorish Science Temple of America. But he was teaching us how to be ourselves. He was warning us of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. But there's a great wrath that came upon the earth. Because Noble Drew Ali said it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and sling to the names and principles that delude to slavery. Now, in 1954, there was a brother. I want to talk about this again because it's important that I do. There's a brother by the name of H. Scott Eel, old timer, an old elder. And this brother was in a place called KY, Lexington, Kentucky. And he was blessed because during this time, you had a lot of young brothers out of Washington, D.C. that was coming to KY. We called it Lex. And when he came to Lex, he met a few of them. And when he met these few brothers, when he was in KY, he suggested to them to get in touch with a brother in Baltimore, Maryland, by the name of Rufus Lynch-Bey, one of the brothers that the prophet taught. And the prophet taught him well. And when he taught the prophet, when the prophet taught the Moors in 1954, he wanted to establish in Washington, D.C., a temple that our brothers and sisters can go to teach our people who they were and who their forefathers was and to redeem them of their sinful ways, because if not, he got to warn them of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. Because during that time, there was still going slavery strongly. So when Noble Drew Ali met this brother, H. Scott Ill, he knew him because they was in the same grand body. And he got him and told him to teach these brothers in Lexington, Kentucky, the teachings of the prophet, so it could help save us in Washington, D.C. from the wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. Lynch-Bey, 2 straight years, 1954, 1955, and 1956. He went to the grand body, and he said that H. Scott Hill had got in touch with him about some brothers and about some sisters from Washington, D.C. that was in Lex, and that he thought it was a good idea to learn them about the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, but Prophet Noble Drew Ali didn't exist in Washington, D.C. at that time, and there was no temple. So the Sheiks, because of a lot of things that had transpired during the advent of slavery, he said that we're not going to take the teachings of the prophet inside no institutions to no conflicts. He said we're not going to do that because we already have conflicts, and the prophet had so much conflict. I mean, with brothers and sisters that was working with the government and getting a lot of finance from the government. So Lynch-Bey, he left the grand body. He cried about it. He taught us about it. But his work was even greater, because he had an obligation to teach these lessons to our little ones, that they may learn to love instead of hate. Because like I say, during that time, he was a member of Temple 13. Temple 13 was in Baltimore. And many lessons that this brother had to teach us about the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, because of the things that was transpiring in the nation. So when they denied us a charter, he broke away and got a charter. And for a lot of years, all the way up, because this was in 1954, and he left in 1956. So this brother has been teaching the teachings of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali for a lot of years. And one thing he always told us, it ain't but one prophet, ain't but one temple, and ain't but one nation. And he said that Allah was sent to redeem us from our sinful ways and to warn us of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. But the prophet, he taught one lesson, and this lesson was about when Kirkman Bey was his interpreter when he went to the meeting over in the Middle East. And because the prophet said, from the east comes all light. And though the sun is hanging at high noon, the blind cannot see the light. The same as the Islamic creed brought to the Asiatics of North America, who offered to those who were sick at heart. Try for many years, yet they are blind and cannot see the light. Nor is the prophet trying to put new wine in old skins, for he knows that will burst them. Yet he has the remedy for the nations. The same remedy brought by Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius, which remedy is the truth. And he said the nations do not want the truth. It is too stern. And until they accept it and find out where it truly is, they're going to continue to be religious controversy. And this controversy have a lot to do with sin and disobedience. That's why the prophet said it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the name and principles that delude to slavery. I want to stop here for a minute because I want to read something else coming from the prophet. A couple of things I want to read from the prophet. And the first thing I want to read is Friday, March the 1st, 1929. And it reads on this wise: the prophet plea to the nations. Our divine and national movement stand for the Pacific grand principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And the prophet am applying to all loyal, faithful Moors members and the American citizens to help him in his great uplifting acts of uplifting fallen humanity among the Asiatic race and nation. For he hath suffered much and severely in the past through misunderstanding of what the movement was dedicated to. It is the great God Allah alone that guides the destiny of this divine and national movement. I know that all true American citizens are identified by national and national descent name in order to answer and apply to the free national constitution of the free national republic of the United States of America. For without a free national name with the descent flag of your forefathers, there is not a national divine title of the government in which you live. This is from your true and divine prophet unto all Americans and foreign sympathizers. Prophet Noble Drew Ali is the founder. This is something that Noble Drew Ali brought us. Noble Drew Ali brought us a lot of paperwork. And some of the work that Noble Drew Ali brought us was paperwork dealing with reparation. We have to deal with reparation. I'm looking at the news the other day. We had brothers talking about reparation, but you want us to go to the government to talk about reparation, and you calling us black. And we're talking about man today is what his forefathers were yesterday. And there's no one who is able to change man from the decent nature of his mother and father unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator, Allah himself. We're looking at the record now. We're looking at history. And not his story now. We're talking about history. And when we begin to talk about history, we're looking at the slave trade. We're looking at 711 AD. And when you begin to look at 711 AD, you are looking at when the Moors went into Spain. And when Moors went into Spain, we went into Spain, and we went into Spain, we gave Europe civilization. We gave Europe civilization because of what Noble Drew Ali revealed to Prophet Noble Drew Ali, because the book did say whenever a nation is in need of a prophet, Allah will send one, and he sent Noble Drew Ali. He sent Noble Drew Ali to redeem us from our sinful ways and to warn us of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. We talking about Noble Drew Ali because he told us that we was not Negroes, colored, black, or Ethiopian. He said because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. So now let's go way back, because we remember the NAACP, and we say the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. So now we got somebody which was civil rights. Civil rights is a non-political issue. Civil rights is not an issue that we can carry to the UN. Civil rights is not an issue that we can carry anywhere when it's dealing with reparation for us as a people. Because why did Allah send Jesus to this earth? Noble Drew Ali came to redeem us from our sinful ways. Now, when Noble Drew Ali came to the Moors, first thing he told us that we were Negro, colored, and black. He said, man today is what his forefathers were yesterday. And there's no one who is able to change man from the decent nature of his mother and father unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator, Allah himself. When Noble Drew Ali came on the scene, not only did he tell us that we weren't Negro, colored, and black, he told that we was Moorish American. He said, why are we Moorish American? He said, because we are descendants of Moroccans and born in America. And these Moroccans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. And he said, why? Who are these Moroccans? He said, they are the biblical sons and daughters of Ham, one of the three sons of Noah, according to the biblical scriptures. Now, we talking about Ham, we talking about Shem, we talking about Japheth, we were talking about our forefathers. We was talking about somebody taking on our name, calling us who our forefathers is not. Because when we fell through the Atlantic slave trade, we was known as Moors. We was Moorish American. And I said we are Moorish American because we are descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. So we are who our forefathers were. So right now, there's nobody right now that's teaching us about our nationality other than R. Jones Bey, the Moorish Science Temple of America. I remember there's a good brother, Braswell Bey, good brother. Just before I moved here to Portland, Brother Braswell Bey took a trip to Washington, D.C. And when he took a trip to Washington, D.C., he had a meeting with the Grand Sheik, Brother R. Jones Bey. It was a good meeting. And I'm still thinking about that meeting today. And the reason why I'm thinking about that meeting today, because I'm thinking about Pearl Ali. I'm talking about Claude Green. I'm talking the reason why Noble Drew Ali disbanded the Supreme Council. I'm thinking about all these different brothers and sisters who were part of the Moorish Science Temple of America, but because of their leadership, they was not able to continue to carry this meeting in the way that the Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali left it to be carried. So what this brother did, he called me up. He said, Lynch-Bey, I have to go to Washington, D.C. because I have to have a meeting with Brother R. Jones Bey. I have to have a meeting with Brother R. Jones Bey about the prophet's work. I said, okay, brother, it'd be an honor. I said, I'll pick you up at the airport, and I'll take you up there, and I'll take you back to the airport. I said, but what I'm going to do is, I'm going to get another faithful member to go with us. And one of the brothers I called was Brother Clarence Prayford, Temple 13 over there in Baltimore. And he went to that meeting with us. And Jones Bey, he wanted so badly to be able to have this meeting with Brother Braswell Bey, but because of C. Kirkland Bey, F. Nelson Bey, J. Blakely Bey, the former Grand Sheik, Brother R. Loville, and the present Grand Sheik, Brother R. Jones Bey, he had to tell them to go back and check the record. When you go back and check the record, then you come back. We could sit down and talk about this because ain't but one. Ain't but one prophet. Ain't but one temple. Ain't but one nation. Ain't no 5 or 6 different leaders. I heard Jones Bey recently. I was looking at one of his shows, and he said that, you know, when you begin to talk about the bosses of bosses and who is this, he said, ain't but one Moorish Science Temple. All this other stuff, you have to serve it. And when we talk about coming under one head, talking about demonstrating with these Europeans about the subject matter, because the subject matter is nationality and divine creed. There's 2/5 that's missing. There's 3/5, but there's 2/5 that's missing. And the 2/5 that's missing is nationality and divine creed. And in order for us to be able to deal with this subject matter, you're going to have to proclaim who you are and who your forefathers were. And this is what we're still talking about today. We're talking about nationality and we're talking about divine creed. Ain't but one. When Noble Drew Ali was on the scene, he had to disband some of the council because they started working with the Europeans. Ain't but one prophet. Ain't but one temple. Ain't but one Allah. They said one prophet, one temple, one nation. And this is what we all going to have to come back to now because, like I say, that other generation, they're on their way out. They dying. And you calling yourself Negro, colored, and black. You telling the people that they Negro, colored, and black, you are falling by the wayside because all those things that you taught is getting ready to be an illusion. It's getting ready to pass away and be no more. Because man today is what his forefathers were yesterday. And what his forefathers were yesterday was not Negro, colored, and black. And these are names that we took on, and we took on strongly. We start calling ourselves Negro, colored, and black, and these are slave names. Because these names was given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. So there's no reparation. There's no reparation for anyone who called himself black. There's no reparation for anyone that called himself colored and Negro. Because when Allah sent Noble Drew Ali to redeem us from our sinful ways and to warn us of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth, he sent someone that had the wisdom to redeem us from that which was lost. Like I said in the other show I had earlier, when the Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali, when he was teaching this gospel, he was telling us that the resurrection of the dead is not confined to the Jew or the Greek. It is the heritage of every man of every time and clime, and he's here, a demonstrator of the power of man. So now we got a lot of other brothers. They with the prophet when it's convenient. Say it with me. When it's convenient, I'm all right with the prophet. But when it's time for me to live, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, because there's 5 principles. There are 5 principles, and the principles that I'm talking about is love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. We love our brothers and sisters, and we tell them the truth, that they may live in peace, have freedom, and justice will come to us all. There's a lot of brothers and sisters. They've been with certain movements for a long time, but ain't but one true and divine way that truth can be obtained, and it's through the above principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice being taught universally to all nations in all lands. You know, there are some people that Noble Drew Ali mentioned to the Moorish Americans when we first joined the Moorish Science Temple of America. And one of the persons' name that he mentioned to us was Jesus' grandfather and Jesus' grandmother. And we're talking about Adam, and we're talking about Jacqueline. But now we're also talking about Ruth, and we're talking about Jacqueline, and we're talking about Boaz. Because these are brothers and sisters that's our bloodline. These are brothers and sisters that when the Europeans took over, they took our nationality, they took our divine creed, and they started calling us names and principles that allude to slavery. And Drew Ali said it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the name and principles that allude to slavery. So we got some work to do. We have some work to do because we have a group of people, brothers and sisters, who follow the teachings of the Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali. And he told us that we were 3/5 of a man. He said we were 3/5 of a man because he said that there was 2/5 that was missing. And the 2/5 that was missing was nationality and divine creed. Everybody have a nationality up on this topside planet mud except the so-called Negro, colored, and black. And these are names that was given to us. And they was given to us by slave holders. Now we got to look at the ones that I said was given to us. You have to look. you have to look at Jesus. You have to look at Jesus' mother. You have to look at Jesus' father. You have to look at those of whom we come under. Those that taught you and me about our nationality and about our divine creed. Now, Noble Drew Ali found the Moorish Temple of America in 1913. A lot of us weren't even here. And at that time, in 1913, we was a part of the Atlantic slave trade. And being a part of the Atlantic slave trade all through our childhood, through our adulthood, through our youth, and through every day, we have taken on names and principles that allude to slavery. Now, Noble Drew Ali told us that. He told us that it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the name and principles that allude to slavery. But my mother and your mother, they went to church. And the best part about them going to church, they was talking about Jesus. They was talking about Abraham. They was talking about Boaz by Ruth. They was talking about Jesse. They was talking about King David. They was talking about Solomon. They was talking about Hezekiah. And they talking about Joseph by Mary. But these are our forefathers. These are the ones that buried Jesus in Vatican Square and took on his name. Everybody took on Jesus' name now. Everybody want to be Jesus. Everybody want to be Muhammad. Everybody want to be Buddha. Everybody want to be Confucius. But Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius, all four of them is of the same principles of your father and mother. But the reason why those names is coming to conflict, because we begin to stray after the gods of Europe, of whom we knew nothing. And this is where the blessing of Noble Drew Ali come in. When Noble Drew Ali found the Moorish Temple of America, one of the things that he talked strongly about was Jesus. It said Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius. It said Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judah in the house of David. Who were his father and mother? Joseph and Mary. And it said, why did Allah send Jesus to this earth? See, we're not talking about nobody else right now, because we're talking about your forefathers and you talking about more forefathers. Now, look at this. The Moors went into Spain. And when we went into Spain and we gave Europe civilization. And when we gave Europe civilization, what our people don't know, like my daughter, my daughter's mother, and a lot of my family members, they was talking about Jesus all the time. And the reason why they was talking about Jesus all the time, because when you begin to talk about the slave trade, and when you begin to talk about Jesus, you were talking about those that was living according to the word of God. But when you begin to call our people Negro, colored, and black, what you did, you separated them from the constitutional foe. We cannot even get reparation. We cannot get reparation from this government because the things that have transpired with us during the slave trade, because we are not who our forefathers were. So when Noble Drew Ali was sent to this earth to redeem us from our sinful ways and to warn us of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth, the thing that Allah had to do was give him those other 2/5. And those other 2/5 is what made us whole again. And even today, when you go back and begin to study your history and begin to check the record, and this is a message for all of those who honor Farad, honor Elijah, and honor all these brothers that was taught by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. These are they that took the money. And we are so blessed because we had no idea that the day that the Moorish Temple of America will still be in the position that we are in today, but Allah is in control of all of this. After all what transpired during the Atlantic slave trade, we still have the methodology that's conducive to our growth and development, because Allah alone is guiding the destiny of this divine and national movement. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the name and principles that delude to slavery. And what are the names and principles that delude to slavery? And you know what they are? They are what we call ourselves today. When you call yourself Negro, when you call yourself black, these are names that were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. Now, I want to read, because of this letter that I just spoke about earlier, I want to read something from the Holy Prophet Noble Drew. I want to read from chapter 45, chapter 47. And the title of this chapter is Egypt, the Capital Empire of the Dominion of Africa. And I suggest that everybody read this. And if you need a copy of this Moorish Holy Quran to read it, I have a copy for you, because this is the Last Supper. When we talking about Last Supper, we talking about food for thought. And I'm going to read this, and I want you to think about it and get you a copy of this, because they got so many temples in the Moorish Science Temple of America. It's easy to get one. And if you don't know nobody, I can get you one. And it reads on this wise: Egypt, the capital empire of the Dominion of Africa. The inhabitants of Africa are the descendants of the ancient Canaanites from the land of Canaan. Old man Cush and his family are the first inhabitants of Africa who came from the land of Canaan. His father Ham and his family was second. Then came the word Ethiopia, which means the demarcation line of the dominion of Amexim, the first true and divine name of Africa, the dividing of the land between the Father and the Son. The dominion of Cush, northeast and southeast Africa, and northwest and southwest Africa was his father's dominion of Africa. In later years, many of their brethren from Asia and the Holy Land joined them. The Moabites from the land of Moab, who received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle and inhabit northwest Africa. They were the founder and are the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire, with their Canaanite, Hittite, and Amorite brethren sojourned from the land of Canaan, seeking new home. Their dominion, inhabited, extended from northeast and southwest Africa across the great Atlantis, even unto the present North, South, and Central America, and also Mexico and the great Atlantic, even unto the present North, South, and Central America and Mexico, and the Atlantic Islands, before the great earthquake which caused the great Atlantic Ocean. The river Nile was dredged and made by the ancient pharaohs of Egypt in order to trade with surrounding kingdoms. Also, the Nile River was dredged by the great pharaohs of Egypt with the surrounding kingdoms. Also, the Niger River was dredged by the ancient pharaohs of Egypt in the ancient days for trade, and it extended eastward from River Nile westward across the great Atlantis. It was used for trade and transportation. According to all true and divine records of the human race, listen, there is no Negro, black, or colored race attached to the human family, because all the inhabitants of Africa were and are of the human race, descendants of the ancient Canaanite nations from the land, the holy land of Canaan. What your ancient forefathers were, you are today without doubt or contradiction. There is no one who is able to change man from the decent nature of his forefathers unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator, Allah himself. These holy and divine laws are from the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the founder of the uniting of the Moorish Science Temple of America. These laws are to be strictly preserved by the members of all the temples in the Moorish Science Temple of America, that they will learn to open their meeting and guide it according to the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Every subordinate temple of the Grand Major Temple is to form under the covenant of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and create their own laws and customs in conjunction with the laws of the Holy Prophet and the Grand Temple. I, the Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, was sent by the great God Allah to warn all Asiatics of America to repent from their sinful ways, and to warn them of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. The day and laws, okay. I, the Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, sent by the great God Allah to warn all Asiatics of America to repent from their sinful ways before the great and lawful day which is sure to come upon the earth. Now, it's in this book. This is the only book that you will find that Noble Drew Ali told us that we were not Negroes, colored, black, or Ethiopians. He told us all that right here in this book. He had to, because all times are not alike. Sometime in history we're known as Negroes. Sometime in history we're known as colored. Sometime in history we're known as black. But these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But if we call ourselves Negro, if we call ourselves colored, and if we call ourselves black, we are outside of the constitutional form. If you want to go sit down and talk to this government about the slave trade and the slave names, what was given you and me during the slave trade, then you have to go back to what Noble Drew Ali gave us right here. He said these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. So we have a people, some call ourselves Negroes, some call ourselves colored, and others call ourselves black. But these names were given to slaves by slaveholders. And this is something to look at, because you have to understand Noble Drew Ali founded the Moorish Science Temple of America in 1913. And when he found the Moorish Science Temple of America, and Allah gave him the methodology that's conducive to our growth and development, he was talking about Negro, colored, and black, because these are names that we was using. Some people wasn't using these names. And you got people today, right here today, still using the name black and still filing paperwork in court because they saying that because we supposed to be black. And Noble Drew Ali said we're not Negro, colored, and black. So there's but one supreme issue. Drew Ali told us that. He's talking about a supreme issue. And he said this supreme issue that we must use to redeem from that which was lost, and it is above statement. And then the lion and the lamb can lie down together, and neither will be harmed when morning comes. Because love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice is going to be still working in the land to redeem us from that which was lost. But you can't go to court. Noble Drew Ali already came, he gave you this methodology. He told you that through the time of slavery. See, during the time of slavery, we started calling ourselves Negro, colored, and black. But we was Moorish. When we went into during the slave trade, we was known as Moors. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality. And we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names was given to slaves by slaveholders. Now we talking about these names of Negro, colored, and black was given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But we still have people that's filing paperwork in the court telling them that we should get reparation because of the slave trade. But how can you get reparation about the slave trade that when the Moors went into Spain in 711, the whole time you was in there, you was known as Moorish. So now you saying you was known as Moorish, but now you want to be a black man. You want to call yourself black. And the only black flag we all know is the one that killed roaches. And if you call yourself Negro, colored, and black, then you're a sin. The book said it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the name and principles that delude to slavery. But this meeting that we was in, you had a lot of different people there. And a lot of them that was there, the first thing that we all got to do is go back to where you begin your teachings of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali at. Wherever you join the Moorish Science Temple of America, that's where you need to take your body right back there. Wherever you started out at, that's where you need to go back to. Because when we begin to look, I remember as a young brother. I met him a lot of years ago. He has his mother's name is Salome Cook Bay. His name Cornelius Cook Bay. And when we met this brother, he's a good little young Sheik, teaching the gospel. And he used to say all the time that the gospel of the resurrection of the dead is not confined to the Jew or the Greek. It is the heritage of every man of every time and clime. He had a brother named Vishnu, and he always would ask about what's the definition of this word Vishnu. And he found out because his older brother was teaching him some lessons. So we're talking about the slave trade now. We're talking about when Noble Drew Ali established the Moorish Science Temple of America in 1913. We're talking about when he came to redeem us from our sinful ways and to warn us of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. But it is a sin. We ain't looking at this. We're looking at you, and we're looking at you who call yourself black. And the only black flag I know is the one that killed roaches. So it is a sin if you or me call ourselves Negro, colored, and black, because these names was given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. So what we need to do, we need to go to the Moorish Science Temple of America. We need to go to the Grand Sheik of the Moorish Science Temple of America and to talk to him about the prophet and how the prophet came to redeem us from our sinful ways and to warn us of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. So that meeting that I was in the other night, it had a lot to do with Brother Ward D. Muhammad, and we appreciated that. And Ward D. Muhammad, he stood up and said, y'all keep talking about my father. Y'all talking about my father and Farad and all these other names. He said, but before my father and those that taught my father, there was the Moorish Science Temple of America, the first organization and the only organization that came to teach you about your nationality and your divine creed. Nobody else came to teach you about your nationality and your divine creed, because this is who you were. Before the slave trade, this is who you were. You was Moorish American. He said, what is your nationality? It said Moorish American. It said, why are we Moorish Americans? Because we are descendants of Moroccans and born in America. And he said, who are these Moroccans? They said they are descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. And who are these Moroccans? They are the biblical sons and daughters of Ham, one of the three sons of Noah, according to the biblical scriptures. And this is why we are Hamitic by descent nature, by the way of Lot. Jew Ali said Lot is the son of Haran. Haran, Ner, and Er is the son of Teru. Teru is the son of Reu. Reu is the son of Pela. Pela is the son of Eber. Eber is the son of Salah. Salah is the son of Aphaxra, and Aphaxra is the son of Shem. And Noah had three sons, Ham, Shem, and Japheth. So we got to go back and check the record now. If you ain't talking about what Jew Ali talking about, then you outside the Constitution of folk. If you calling yourself anything other than Moorish, because this is who you were before the advent of slavery, you was Moorish. When we went into Spain in 711 to give Europe civilization, to warn them of the great wrath which was sure to come upon the earth, and to tell them that they who their forefathers were, we was Asiatic Muslims and we was Moorish. There was no such thing as Negro. There was no such thing as colored. There's no such thing as black. And then you know what? There's no such thing as white. You have a lot of people calling themselves white. Ain't no such thing. Because you have a nationality too. You call yourself white, but you have all these different European nations. They're European. They're not white. They're German. They're Dutch. They're Portuguese. They're French. They're Italians. And why are they all of this? Because man today is what his forefathers were yesterday. You know who your forefathers were. If your forefather was Moorish, you Moorish today. And all of us that went to college, that's still in the college, and talking about the slave trade, you need to understand that Negro, colored, and black, if you call yourself any of these, you are outside of the constitutional folk. You have no rights that a citizen is bound to respect. And the reason why you have no rights that a citizen is bound to respect is because man today is what his forefathers were yesterday. And there's no one who is able to change man from the decent nature of his mother and father unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator, Allah himself. You got a lot of brothers and sisters teaching this gospel. You have a lot of brothers and sisters constantly teaching this gospel. But you fail to realize that until you teach from the prophet's literature, he brought us a divine constitutional bylaws, and he brought us additional law. And the reason why he brought us these, because this is the foundation that we have when we step into these Europeans about what we're dealing with right now. Even now, just like we read in the literature, where it was talking about how certain brothers and sisters was getting this kind of money from the Europeans each month, every year, because they have a format, and in this format, they telling our people that they're Negro, colored, and black. But reason I messed up about it, and I don't respect you for that, because y'all done killed my prophet. Y'all killed Noble Drew Ali, who was sent to this earth to redeem you from your sinful ways and to warn you of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth, and you calling yourself a black man. And you know that these names was given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. This is why Noble Drew Ali let the Sheiks know. He said, I'm ready to leave. I'm ready to go. He didn't know when it was coming, but he knew it was coming because the Europeans had taken charge. And if they have taken charge and they have people that's telling the people that they're Moorish and not Negro, colored, and black, then you become a tumor on the body of the state. That's why Drew Ali said it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the name and principles that delude to slavery. So Drew Ali told us that it was a sin to call ourselves Negro, colored, and black, and that we was Moorish. And he told us this before we start calling ourselves that. I've been in the Moorish side of America 50 years. So I've known 50 years that I wasn't Negro, black, and colored. And I knew that these names were given to slaves by slaveholders. And it is a sin for any group of people, but they still getting that money. They still getting that kind of money from the government because the government got to give it to you because they want you to say that you are black. They don't want you to say that you Negro colored. If you look at your divine constitution and bylaws, it says we're not Negroes, colored, black, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. In my age group, when you in 1967 and 66, this is when we begin to get ready to call ourselves black. But know what Lee already told us, that it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the name and principles that delude to slavery. So we all calling ourselves other than who we are now. We calling ourselves Negro, colored, and black. We're not worshiping under our own vine and fig tree. I say we're not worshiping under our own vine and fig tree, because Drew Ali told us that. He says it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the name and principles that delude to slavery. So now we got to get back out there and re-educate the people, because we done got so relaxed and so laid back, we begin to accept the title black. All of us. We's a good black people. We're strong black people. There's no such people as black, especially when you begin to talk about the slave trade. We didn't have those names. These names were given to slaves by slaveholders. See, they was given to us. That's why Drew Ali said, with us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we're teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. Now guess what? When Noble Drew Ali came upon the scene and told us that we wasn't Negro, colored, black, or Ethiopian, not only was he outside of the constitutional fold, but because of Allah sending him to redeem us from our sinful ways, he brought us those other 2/5 too. And Noble Drew Ali bringing those other 2/5, making us whole. Matter of fact, Ruth, you know Sister Ruth, the book of Ruth, he told us about Ruth. And he told us that Ruth was a Moabite. And the Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. So now I'm looking at it again. I'm looking at all this work that these brothers and sisters have put in over all these many years. I'm looking at the work that they was talking about the slave trade and tell us that we talking about the advent of slavery. And when you begin to look at all these different things and understanding what transpired during the Atlantic slave trade, we have a lot of work to do. And as I reiterate, I just had some paperwork. I got it right here. Some paperwork of some brothers and sisters across the country. They filing some paperwork with the court. And the paperwork that they are filing with the court is that we need to get some reparation. They said we need to get some reparation because the slave trade got us locked down. But the prophet said that these names was given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali the prophet. See, we say Noble Drew Ali the prophet because the book say whenever a nation is in need of a prophet, Allah will send one. And if Allah send one, then you had to be something that brought you back your nationality and your divine creed, because during the slave trade, when the Moors went into Spain and we fell in 1492, during that time we was known as Moors. So if anybody come and tell you, or if anybody come and tell me that we are not Negro, colored, and black, or we are Negro, colored, and black, then you know we're still dealing with the slave trade. Because these names was given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now. And all men now must proclaim their free national name in order to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali the prophet to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. At this time, I like to read from the Moorish Holy Quran again. I like to read from the Moorish Holy Quran. And this was written, when I'm getting ready to read, it was written by the Holy Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, for our earthly and divine salvation. I get back into this subject matter the next time, but at this time, I like to close out. And I'm always honored to be able to come before our Portland listening audience to talk to you about the last prophet in these days and time, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. At this time, I recite the Moorish American prayer, the source from which we draw our strength. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. Wade in the water, wade in the water, Marlin,